let's make it start because it's going to be a very engaging session, and we will have a lot of interactions within the session. Uh, to start off with, uh, let us do this. Yeah. To start off with, to introduce myself, I am Raghavendra Jinkade. I am from Bangalore. I I come with around 18 years of experience in the financial markets and the banking industry, especially on the operations and the transformation side. My hobbies involve like I love traveling, cycling, reading, like most of us, and really struggling with this pandemic situation. But hopefully things get better soon. And I hope everybody is doing well because we have been confined to our homes everywhere, especially in all the states, and Karnataka is really bad. So with that in mind, we'll just start. And my interest also is in exploring ideas to creating board games, which I'm doing right now. Like I've been doing it from almost a year now, and been exploring how can I include the financial and the project management skills for school children. So that's something I've been working on a board game as well. So that's about me. We go next to the Pro Thoughts. Like we know Pro Thoughts, we are actually it's a authorized training partner. So for PMI, they have offices in Pune, Mumbai, Dubai, and Mauritius. So it's a truly international. They have international reach. A regular classroom. I was one of their students for the DASM, and I like the way they actually have the game-based interactive methods for training. So that's about Pro Thoughts for you. Before we start, and then let's go directly to our topic. So the agenda today is quite long. I think I should be able to finish it within time. The ground rules before we start, I'll just go through the slide one by one, and then you can start putting your questions. But we will be answering all the questions at the end of the session. I'll have like 15 minutes at the end to 10. Maybe I'll try to have around 10 minutes to answer all your questions. So with that, let us dive in to the topic. The topic today is transition from traditional project delivery to value stream delivery.
Hello, Raghavendra.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you. Can you just, put your presentation in the presentation mode? I think it's just,
Okay.
yeah, now it's perfect. You can go ahead.
Okay. So just to take you all through again, sorry about that. That's about Pro Talks. The topic for today, the agenda we have, we'll first introduce as to what this topic is. This topic is all about how at an enterprise level, the context today is a large enterprise, especially on the services side. And because I come from the financial market side, I'll be taking most of the examples from the financial services and the banking industry. But I'll be trying to touch all the experiences that I have come across. So we'll see what a traditional project delivery lifecycle is and what is enterprise agility. Then we'll go to what is a value stream. What is a value stream delivery? And what are the various challenges that you see when you want to transition from a traditional to the value stream delivery? Like mindset change, which is quite important, and value stream delivery structure. We will get to know what exactly is a value stream delivery structure. And most important in any project is the budget. So I thought it would be important to add that, without which we'll never get to know the actual administrative work that goes behind the projects, which very few people touch. So then we'll give an example. It will be a simple example for you to make, for just to make you understand what a value stream delivery looks like. You may be already, some of you may already be working in the value stream delivery structure. But this is mainly aimed at somebody who wants to know about how it works. So the team structure, roles and responsibilities, very important in an agile environment. And also the guided continuous improvement. How do we actually continuously improve our ways of working so that we deliver the best and keep delivering it as and when the changes happen in the environment? It's not going to affect us. How do we actually make sure we stand up to the times that we are working in? And obviously the question answer session. So let us look at the traditional project delivery life cycle. I'm sure you guys, like all the participants here, might have come across this. This is from most of the exhibits that I have. Is actually coming from either the disciplined agile, the PMI, or the scaled agile, because we are looking at the enterprise agility. These are some of the known methodologies or main players in the industry. So you'll see most of these exhibits are actually talking about those in terms of these various methodologies. So first of all, if you look at the traditional project life cycle, what you see here is it just moves in steps. So first of all, there are requirements, and then there is an architecture, like the design, construction, testing, and deployment go one after the other. And to make sure that all the tasks are completed in the previous phase, there is a phase gate control, which is done to make sure that the milestones are achieved before they move on to the next level. So if you want to make any changes, you have to go through the change control. There is no flexibility in terms of doing any change in between. It has to go through a formal hierarchical process. It has to go through all the steering committees, get all the artifacts signed. So all the uh, you know bureaucracies that's involved in change. So that's what I've tried to explain here, more in terms of the characteristics of a traditional project delivery. Scope is fixed, requirements, overall scope is broken down into specific actionable deliverables. Timelines, the start and end date is fixed. Cost, cost is actually the budget, which is based on forced specifications. Roles and responsibilities are clearly defined. Teams are temporary. There is a saying that when it comes to traditional project delivery, you bring people to work, which means to say you bring people to complete the tasks. Whereas in agile delivery, you bring work to the people, which means that people know what they are doing. You get the work to them so that they can complete it in a given time, and with the kind of quality they can give because of their expertise. So that's the main difference you see in teams. The change request, as I explained earlier, the governance is again something which goes through all the steering committees and all these meetings that we actually go through on a weekly basis and write long meeting minutes. Metrics. When you actually look at the metrics, it's very simple. In case of a traditional project delivery, you just look at whether you are delivering within the budget and the time, and the scope is being delivered with a specified quality standard. There is no other measure for your traditional project delivery. And the benefits, you're getting it 3 to 5 years after you finish the project. So that's quite a long term view of a project. Now, before we start on the enterprise agility, I would like to point out that every organization, when they look at agile, they look at it only in terms of software delivery, because they think that projects are around software development. And as long as software development is going fine and they are delivering small increments to develop the system, the rest of the things are taken care. But when you look at agility at scale, when I say scale, when you look at it at the enterprise level, you realize that agility is required across. It's more of it becomes more than the delivery. It's actually agility actually at an enterprise level means that how we can become more efficient so that we can deliver faster and deliver deliver at a given quality, and at the same time, if there is a fallback, how quickly we can you know make the changes. So that's the enterprise agility for you. When you look at this entire picture, which is taken from the DA process plate, now this is also called a square onion. The reason being, if you look at the foundation, the bottommost layer, which is in the red, which actually speaks about the required principles, guidelines, and the various life cycles that we need to choose actually to make the entire agility process and enable the entire agility process. So if you look at the first layer from the bottom, it's the disciplined DevOps. I know many people may be working in the DevOps teams. It has the disciplined agile delivery team, and to enable disciplined agile delivery, you have the security team, the data management team, the release management, and obviously the IT operations to take care of the delivery as well as the production support. But if you go a level higher, that's the value stream. So when you look at our scope today is this: how exactly we deliver value by utilizing each of these capabilities to the customer. When I say customer, it's both the internal as well as the external customer. You can see portfolio management team, which we are quite aware of, the product management, which looks at the product itself, and the program management team, which looks at how we can deliver things faster, how we can get all the related requirements together and deliver in a most logical way. So that's something which the product program management does, and they cannot do it in isolation. So if just the program management, product, and the program and the product team gets together with disciplined agile teams, they can just deliver a software. But if you are looking at enterprise delivery, you have to get in touch with this layer, which is in between the enterprise layer and the value stream layer. These are the ones which are catering to the entire organization, like the governance, the marketing, continuous improvement, sales, research and development. So this is something which is important for us. It helps us to actually get in touch with various capabilities. Now, when I say capabilities, these are various departments. Now, each department wants to improve their processes to deliver better value to their ultimate customers. They may be ultimate customers, may be external or internal customer. Now, how will they interact with each other to make sure that we can deliver in a holistic way? Like if I am delivering a software, but when I want to release it, there are a lot of compliance requirements, and the release does not go on time, and we have lost our market because of that. It actually necessitates that the compliance or the legal and also the transformation team gets involved together and make sure that they improve their own processes and improve the processes to actually interact with each other, so that as an enterprise we are working as an organism, not as a machine that you do your work and then you pass on to the next department, they do their work, and then so on and so forth. We need to be kind of a value stream. That's what we are trying to see in the next slide. This is a value stream. So when I say a value stream, it starts with the customer. So when you look at the customer, it says both internal and external, which I actually told you before this. Now they come with certain needs. Now some of the needs may not be practicable to deliver. Maybe that's the reason we just don't invest on something just because it's a need of the customer. The customer may have their own fancy needs. So all the needs that are actually going to give maximum benefits are actually passed on to the strategic team. The strategic themes are actually taken by the portfolio management team, and they fund it based on the available budgets. They allocate the budgets to the various strategic requirements of the customer, which are changed into strategic initiatives. That's what they actually fund. Then it goes to the product management team, which actually delivers in minimum business increments. When I say minimum business increments, when you look at it, it's the minimum feature that can be consumed by the customer. Like say, if I am actually producing, say, something or giving a service in terms of you know, digital banking. If I make a part of it, like, you know, onboarding of the client, uh, if I am able to enable it on a digital platform, that's actually a delivery because that can be consumed by the customer. On the other hand, if I just actually produce something as a software and just deliver it internally, and it's not being used by the customer, then it's not a value delivery. So it's very important that when we deliver value to the customer, it's actually a need of the customer which can be utilized by the customer immediately to satisfy their requirements. And here the client is both internal as well as the external. Now, before we move on to the next one, I want to make it a little bit interactive session. So we now have seen what is enterprise agility, and also we have seen what is value stream. So I'll be launching a poll. I just want to know from this audience as to how many of us are doing value stream delivery. Does your organization follow enterprise level agility? I'm launching the poll. You have 30 seconds. Can you please vote? Yeah, keep it coming. Good. I'm seeing a lot of votes. Out of 60, I have got 35. Please, even if you're not sure, it's okay. No. Better for us, because the rest of the session will be much more interesting if it is no. I'm ending the poll in another 5 seconds. Please start voting. Okay. I'm ending the poll. Thank you. So this is the result we have got. So we see out of 37 people who voted, 61% say they know what is value stream delivery. That's quite a big percentage. And also in terms of enterprise agility, which is 22, that's quite good. Okay, so let's close the poll and come back to, okay, the next topic. Okay, the next topic that we have is about the mindset. Now, say at the enterprise agility, as you know, is agility at scale. So it requires it requires the cultural change. So what are the various mindset change that the organization has to go through to make sure that value stream delivery works? So you might have gone through this if you have done disciplined agile, but I want to give my own experience as we go through it. So organize around products or services. So what we have seen so far is when a particular the capability, like say if it is finance, if they are going for some projects under their programs, they'll just look at how they can enhance maybe supply chain, maybe tax, maybe they're all working in desperate feature increments, like they are doing the feature increment just around their particular department. They're not thinking about how this will actually deliver value to the ultimate customer. So that's something where we are looking at it. We are looking at every deliverable as a product that is going out to the customer. It's the offering that has to be defined, which is the value stream. And also the reporting structure. When we say de-layer the reporting structure, some of the traditional organizations, as we have seen, is that they are so they are so hierarchical that if any decision has to be made, it has to go through the reporting structure. It has to go to your manager, and then your manager takes approval from your senior manager. Then it goes all the level to, you know, all the way to your COO level if something has to be done on the operations side. Now, does everything require approval from the COO's office? There are few things that it has to, like if it comes to compliance, it comes to anything related to conflict of interest and such things, yes, definitely. But the day-to-day stuff, like say you are like, are trying to make some changes based on the customer requirements, does it have to go all the way through? So that's the reason they actually divided this the entire hierarchy into various decision making roles rather than hierarchical positions again. So that's where we try to delayer the reporting structure. And the teams, like I previously said, we used to bring teams to work, and they used to take their time to, you know, we have that whole steps that a resource management goes through. They are the forming, norming, performing, adjourning. So those are like history right now, because we have people who are actually working on the teams being part of the delivery. So if you are working in the operations team, you're part of the team. If you are working in the IT on that particular department, you are part of the team. And if you are working on actually as a project manager, trying to coordinate between IT and the business, you are part of the team. Now, one of the important things is like it becomes like it becomes easier for the management to take care of the teams, because they are already part of the same business. Budgeting becomes quite easier. Resourcing is not a headache anymore. So that's where semi-autonomous teams makes complete sense. And pragmatic. So when I remember when one of the organizations I was working for, once it was announced from the top management saying that we have to get into agile ways of working, so everyone started thinking of how can I make my processes. I mean, how can I fit into agile kind of delivery? Instead of thinking how I can make some of the processes agile, they started thinking of how can my delivery become agile compliant. So that's where we need to be pragmatic. Don't force fit. Make sure that you see individual processes. If it makes sense to actually get into agile, please do that. And disciplined agile says that if some of the processes have to go through the same, some of the deliveries actually have to go through the same traditional approach, be it, but you have to change some of the processes. Maybe the delivery is still happening on the agile mode, but your processes have to change to better, because the rest of the organization is getting agile. So also, the predictability has to be improved. How do we improve the predictability? We need to make sure that our technical debts are paid. We are not having too many infrastructure issues from the IT side, which does not allow us to progress. So we are working with the high quality assets. Test first approach. In the traditional approach, they used to test after the development is done. So testing is become part of you know test driven development. If you look at it, it actually says that test both specifies as well as validates work. That's a change in the mindset that needs to come in. The feedback cycles have to be reduced. They have to work collaboratively, like instead of, like, say, going back to the customer only after a product is it's produced. They have to be in touch with make have a collaboration and also have a representative from that client side on the delivery teams. and respect work in progress limits. More load actually means longer feedback cycles, so we have to reduce that. The metrics has to be improved. Metrics shouldn't look like a status update. It should look more in terms of what we are delivering. When I look at metrics, what we have seen is nobody talks about the cost of delay. Say if there is any delay in delivery, what is the actual cost of it? If we are able to put all these things together, it will lead to better decisions, which will lead to better outcomes, because the management takes the future decisions based on how we measure things and how these metrics actually help them to make future decisions. So nobody talks about opportunity cost. If we are able to do that and put it in your metrics, or adopt some of the important like very strategic metrics like the GQM or the objectives and key results, which are easy to adopt, do that. That's where to start, and then go all the way towards reporting further your metrics, and then attend to relationships through the value stream. We need to make sure that once we are working in a value stream, we are no more working in silos. We have to be working with various capabilities to deliver the value. So we adopt the middle up down management approach. Make sure what is coming your way, prepare your team to do it well, and then pass it on to the next team, and keep the team which is going to expect inputs from you, that what is coming their way, and prepare them and work in a collaborative way. That's something that needs to happen. And governance is a very important topic. In a traditional organization, most of the governance is compliance driven, it's not outcome driven. So we have to change the mindset to get into a governance which is which enables outcomes rather than just look at the compliance part of it. And enterprise awareness, whatever we do, whatever tailoring we do to our ways of working, we need to remember that we are still part of the enterprise. We cannot do our own thing, and whatever we deliver actually fits into the entire enterprise. So these are the various things that the mindset change actually requires, which is quite a bigger challenge compared to delivering in a value stream delivery mode. So this actually shows you the value stream delivery structure. This is taken from the Scaled Agile, because we are talking from the enterprise agile perspective. This is the portfolio view of SAFe. As we know, there are various strategic themes which comes from the greater enterprise strategy. As we saw that all the requirements of the clients cannot be satisfied. The ones which make more business sense and adds value, consumable value to the customer, only those are taken into picture. So those are developed. Those are the enterprise strategy is divided into large strategic themes, and these themes are actually part of the portfolio vision is actually created. Then obviously the portfolio vision, it requires the money to be implemented. There is a lean budget which is managed quite tightly, making sure that we are delivering value to the customer, right value at the right time. And all these initiatives, whatever we are seeing, cuts across various capabilities. So value stream mapping, in sense that what are the various components or epics from various initiatives that need to come together to deliver value to the customer. That's something uh, which is like the value stream mapping layer, which has to be done quite diligently and reviewed on a regular basis. Maybe usually it's a quarterly review where they see how a particular value stream is doing, whether it's doing well within the budget given, uh, whether the value that was supposed to be delivered within the quarter has been delivered. If it's delivering, then they get the money. If they are not, then they are actually reprioritized. So it actually brings the culture of delivering the outcomes to get further delivery budget. So it is actually outcome based delivery model. which cuts across the capabilities. It may look a little difficult to start off with because there is so much interaction between various initiatives spread across the value stream. But as we start and we have the good top management to back it, and we have a good transformation team to actually help us go through that, we know exactly what are the various change and implementation steps that has to be done. If we get the foundations right, we can definitely deliver in terms of the value stream. And some of the organizations where I have worked, have been mostly traditional, but right now I'm seeing the value stream delivery coming up in my current organization, and which is quite interesting. And this transition phase is something which is quite challenging. Okay, so if we have to deliver the value stream, and if you have to deliver, you need to actually have budgets, as we told. There are lean budgets. On one hand, you have all the unified backlog for the entire portfolio. Now, how do we actually map these entire portfolio to a value stream? That's something which is done. So when there is a participatory budget forum, which happens on a quarterly basis, they ensure that each of the value stream receives the funding required to advance the solution and promote the collaboration that helps in the right size, the investment and align strategy to the execution. So when it comes to cost, we have always seen, even in a traditional project, that we take, there is a budget that is ring fenced for the entire project. We work on those projects. We find that some of the scope is not reachable. There is a huge sunk cost. To avoid this, what the value stream delivery does is that it actually tests really whether the value stream works. If it works, then they do investment in program increments, what is called quarterly increments. So that's what you see here, and it's a participatory budget. When I say participatory, you have the business context coming into the picture while choosing the value stream, while prioritizing those value streams on a regular basis. You have the total portfolio budget and guardrails, which is already defined for a particular portfolio. And they also decide as to how much budget can be allocated in a quarter, and what are the various value streams that will deliver value both internally as well as to the ultimate customer, that is the client. And they run the business. It's actually very important that the operations or the team which actually talks to customer on a regular basis, they are also involved in the participatory budget forums. And the proposed solution initiatives, that's the grow the business, which is the EPICS investment, the erstwhile portfolio management team, which is called by the new name now. They all get together. They look at the current value streams on a regular basis. This is what is mentioned here. This is the program increment 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So each program increment can be thought of as a quarter. In the quarter, whatever is being assigned to the value stream as a budget, and reprioritize the value stream funding for the next quarter, and then actually have a monthly review. So you've done a quarterly review, you have assigned the budget to the value streams, but how is it doing on a regular basis? That's something that has to be reviewed on a monthly basis. So this is how exactly the participatory budget forum helps in getting the budgets together to deliver the value stream. Now I've tried to give a small example here as to how the value stream delivery looks. How is it different from the traditional delivery? So if you look at an example, something like a ABX Bank, they have an enterprise strategy under which there are various strategic themes, and each strategic theme has the budget. The budgets get into value streams after the value stream mapping is done. When I say value stream mapping, you can see the various capabilities here, that is marketing, product, sales, customer onboarding, credit, and customer service. can all these initiatives in form of epics come together to deliver value? So they are looking at a strategy which is called redesign or enhance digital experience. They want to make sure that the customer is able to apply for a mortgage loan and get the loan and also service the loan digitally. So first of all, you have to attract the customer. So this is how the value stream works. So is there a pick which from the marketing stream? Yes, there is digital multi-channel marketing platform. That's something which the marketing team is working on. The outputs from this can actually help the product team to prepare e-product catalogs, like the e-product catalogs that is being prepared by the product, which is distributed to the customer as a part of marketing material. So that gets done. Now, when we have the right product chosen through the eligibility calculator, then it goes, all your information goes to the sales team actually makes sure that you're buying the right product for the right price based on your requirements. And once you have made all the application, it goes to the customer onboarding team. They do the client due diligence electronically. They have the eKYC as well. Now these capabilities, these particular epics from the customer onboarding capability helps us to do the client due diligence and the KYC electronically, and then all the details go to the credit team, and the credit analysis engine looks at all the application and the client details and decides on how much credit can be extended to the customer. And then after the decision is made, it is passed on to the customer service. Now customer service have to develop their processes in such a way that they can do all the services, and also like extending the loan, like crediting the loan directly to the client's account, service loans, servicing the loans, and also the transaction processing is done electronically. So this is how the and there will be and when you actually talk about enhancing digital experience, there may be another value stream which is more rewarding in terms of uh, the number of program increments it has. That's the pre-approved products where you don't have to go through sales, customer onboarding, credit, because already already a product is pre-approved. You don't need a sales. Customer onboarding is not required because there you have an existing customer. Credit analysis is not required because the pre-approval of the product is based on the credit standing of the customer already. So it goes directly to the customer service who take care of the product terms, disbursement, and transaction processing. So this is typically how value stream delivery works. And you have the ultimate customer actually giving you the feedback so that you keep improving the way you deliver. So this keeps on going continuously for the product lifetime. Okay. Now let us look at the leadership. When you look at the organizational leadership at the enterprise level, you work in a team structure. So how do we actually make sure we are accountable to whatever we are delivering? So there are the management trinities, the leadership trinities, in other words, the architecture owner who makes sure that we are building the right product, we are building the product right. The product owner who sees to it that we are building the right product based on whatever is mentioned in the strategic initiatives, and then the team lead who actually makes sure that we are working in small increments and also making sure we are delivering at the right pace. So all these three come together, and when they coordinate well with each other, that's when the enterprise agility becomes successful. So this highlighted part, what you see in the middle, may be really small when you start as a as a as an enterprise agile organization. But with the time, this is going to grow because we'll have better collaborations. We know exactly what works and what does not work, given the infrastructure and the capabilities that we have, and how we can, how they can be made better or enhanced to deliver better value faster, and and with minimum bugs. So all these three things are taken care by the leadership. Now, how do we actually look at it from the value stream owner's perspective? Like, there are multiple sub teams like this which come under, which cut across the capabilities. Now, all these teams together are actually talking to the value stream manager to make sure that we can not only deliver as disparate features, but also the features can be combined together to deliver a particular value stream to the customer. So that's what is made sure by the value stream manager. And of course, whatever is being delivered by the value stream goes to the market. We get the feedback from the market, and then the feedback goes into the strategic goals, and then we have all the new increments coming once again in the form of value streams. So this is about the leadership. Let's move quickly on to the large team structures, how it works. If you are a small software development team, you can just have your core team members. That is the DAD sub team. This is taken from the team of team structures in disciplined agile. So all your specialized team can come together and deliver a particular feature or a component. But when it comes to large team of teams, you have to have a management layer on the top who is actually reporting on to the value stream layer. So the team leader talks to the product coordination, product owner talks to the product ownership, and architecture owners talks to the architecture ownership team. And all these teams are actually coordinated together in delivery. And you actually see that when there are requirements of any particular expertise, you get the technical expert, domain expert, and independent testers and the integrators to come together. We'll see what are the roles of each of them. But when you look at the team itself, it may be a feature-based team which do the features end to end, or it may be a component team which looks at a particular component. They are specialized only in those components. So they all get together. Sub teams can squads can choose their own ways of working. So like the squads are like the sub teams. So they have the ability to actually choose their own ways of working. Disciplined agile gives them that freedom to choose their own ways of working, but they have to do it in an enterprise aware manner. You should not lose the sight of what the enterprise is trying to achieve because your own ways of working don't match. You have to deliver what is supposed to be delivered, but you can choose within the boundaries of the enterprise delivery. So that's very important. And then obviously, as I told, the coordination happens at three levels. Work to be done is taken care by the product owner. Architectural issues are taken care by the architecture owner, and the people issues by the team lead. One more important point as we move towards the next one is that, in agile team, we don't see roles are actually designations. Like if you talk of a team lead is not a designation. Whereas if I look in a traditional organization, a senior project manager will work only on the typical constraints and see how the delivery can be done at the right time, and that's it. Like as long as his team is doing and he's able to manage all the constraints, his work is done. But a team lead is somebody who also works as a team member. So that's the mindset change that you need to get into the team, that if you want to work in agile team, what you bring to the table is more important than the designations that you hold. You may not be very close to the team that is working. You need to develop your skills. You need to develop your expertise so that you become part of a delivery team, not a team just who sits and then delegates it to the rest of the team. That's what differentiates a manager from a leader. So leader leads by example, whereas manager leads by delegation. So that's a very important point that's something like a mindset change, which becomes very difficult. Here we have just tried to explain what are the various primary roles, supporting roles. Except for the architecture owner, I see everybody else are, and the domain experts, obviously. Most of the team members are multi-skilled and they are self-organizing teams. So having said that, now how do we make sure that we deliver continuously and at the same time improve our efficiencies? The whole objective of enterprise agility is not to deliver software in an agile manner, but to better our own processes in the form of ways of working on a continuous basis. How do we do that? There are various tools. There is something called A3, which was used in one of my earlier teams. But all the various things that they use in terms of the continuous improvement, everything goes around this particular Kaizen group, which is called the Plan, Do, Study, Act. So you need to identify the potential solution which can give better results through various experiments. If the experiments fail, you are still a failure. You learn, and then you again learn as fast as possible, and then redo that experiment in a different way, so that you try different solutions, test, assess the effectiveness, and share the learnings. So how can we do that? It can be done either by the agile coach, which is very expensive. Like if you get an agile coach, it may not be feasible for a growing organization to have agile coach, and the team actually knows very well what they are doing. So we don't need somebody else to come and tell us. Can they use something which can be easily utilized without actually getting into too much of an expensive option? One of the option is the DA toolkit. The Disciplined Agile toolkit actually does all the heavy lifting to help you give various processes which can actually be implemented in an agile manner, and it is context based. So if you are new to agile, what to use? If you are already an agile enterprise, if you want to explore lean, what do you have to use? If you have to use the same thing, same process goals at an enterprise level, how do you scale it further? What works, what does not work in case of some of them? Everything is listed there, and because of this, disciplined agile is actually a disciplined agile toolkit is something which is like a ready reckoner, and at the same time it can give you the results faster and help you fail less and succeed more. So ultimately what we are looking for from the transition of traditional organization to the enterprise agile ways of working, what we see is, your organization was more like a machine with a hierarchy, bureaucracy, and detailed instructions working in silos. Now it has become organization. It's become an organization of as an organism. So the leadership gives you the direction, enables you, does not worry about the hierarchy, and each of the teams work in collaboration with each other, and it's more of a lively organization, which is a living organization rather than a machine which can be worked by anyone. An organism works with the specific sets of skills and the people, so it is more people oriented kind of organization when you go for a value stream delivery kind of organization. So with that, I enter the last part of that's the concluding part of my presentation. I see Ashish has joined us.
Hi.
Hi Ashish, I hand it over to you.
So
Thank
yeah,
you all.
sorry, say it again.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I got a little late on this, but thanks everyone for joining the session. I work at Pro Thoughts, and some of you might be knowing me, but just wanted to come and wanted to hear this presentation from webinar from Raghavendra. By the way, guys, he's one of the first DASM no, in India to get DASM certified. We were the first to launch at ProThoughts, and he was the first one to get certified. So that's a distinction Raghavendra has. And while interacting with him, I found a wealth of knowledge with him. And this kind of webinar, I had gone through the slides. It was amazing, the experience that he uses, and he has been through that whole journey. And he puts us through that, gives us a little visual representation of what agility comes and how the value stream mapping is from the traditional delivery. I think it's a good uh, revelation for people who do not know how to apply agility in organization. So many thanks, Raghavendra. It was a great gesture to come on ProThoughts platform and share your knowledge. Really great. Thank you so much. And I will take you through a couple of slides. And guys, we will actually share the PDU code and everything with you. I would, if you have any questions, type in the question and answer panel or even in chat, and I will moderate the question, and Raghavendra will be happy to answer your questions. Okay. So we are one of the premium training partners for both Disciplined Agile and all the PMI stuff. Raghavendra, you need to scroll the slides for me. And yeah, so this is the journey of Disciplined Agile. Starts with DASM and the associate level is the next level is the DSSM, which is a senior Scrum Master, and then the master level is the Disciplined Agile Coach. Disciplined Agile Coach is not yet launched in India, but I think within the next couple of months it will be launched in India. I'm going to take a session about that sooner than later. Yeah. Raghavendra, if you can actually paste this for our participants to, maybe you can, no, I can't do that. So maybe you need to lower your slide and copy it and maybe paste this in the chat session. That will be helpful. Okay, so you can join our LinkedIn group for Disciplined Agile, where we actually announce a lot of things, update with a lot of great information on Disciplined Agile. That will be helpful for all. There are already around 450 guys, if I'm not wrong, on that group. Raghavendra, you need to come back on the slide. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, if you can, you can go to the 20th slide, and if you can copy paste for our participant the link. You need to know. Below, yeah, that will be great. Yeah, thank you so much. Right, yeah, and yeah, then you can blow up the slides, and we can go to the next slide. I'll quickly do that. Yeah, I got the questions. Okay, so let me ask you the questions as well. Okay, let's go quickly on this. Okay, so this is the Disciplined Agile knowledge check. If you are, what is your assessment score? So you can actually go to prothoughtsolutions.com and check out in Disciplined Agile knowledge check under the menu of Disciplined Agile, and you can actually check your knowledge on Disciplined Agile, whether you are eligible for certifications. Yeah, go to next. Okay, so this is the webinar calendar for the next 2 months. So you can choose your webinars to attend. You will get one PDU as well. Go ahead. Yeah, you can join our LinkedIn and Facebook, okay, for the latest updates, ProThoughts, okay. So you can type on Facebook or LinkedIn and you will get that. Go next, please. Yeah, you can drop a mail at info@prothoughts.co.in, or you can call on this number for any inquiries. That will be great. Okay, and before I answer the question, I'm just going to launch the poll, okay? And I'm going to just collect the questions while you answer the poll. Okay, please answer the poll. Come on, guys, please do that. Okay, it's 50%. I'm going to run it for another 20 seconds. Come on, guys. It's only 60%. Please answer. That will be great. Ah, yeah. Okay. That's the old one, I guess. Thank you for doing this. Okay. Lovely. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm closing the polls. Thank you so much. Okay. Sorry about the error about March and April. Okay. So it'll get corrected. Okay, I'm Raghavendra. I'm going to open the questions for you. And one of the questions Mustafa has asked is that how do we avoid being pragmatic when the organization constantly wants to move to agile methodology for all of its projects? Should the waterfall projects be dealt with old-fashioned way, or is there a hybrid agile model which can be followed? What's your take on that? That's a very great question, Mustafa. Thank you for that. Raghavendra, all yours.
Yeah, great question. What I feel is like, as we already talked about it, it's not about how we are delivering the project, but what are the various processes that can become agile. As you rightly mentioned, hybrid model can be used wherever, like say, we have some of the compliance projects under us, which cannot go agile because they have their own steps to go through. The various countries have various, legal obligations which has to be done. So obviously, yes, a hybrid works, and you should make it work for the processes which can still go, which can still be done in agile way, whereas keep your delivery the tradition.
Great. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Raghavendra. Another question was, can we apply project management in large infra projects, agile project management, sorry, in large infra projects?
Yeah, it can be applied, and value stream delivery can also be applied. But the fundamental for any infrastructure project is that you're working with high quality assets. You're not working with something where you have 100 bugs and trying to make agile work. No, you should have a more agile systems first. And then you can definitely work on agile. While having legacy systems which are very rigid, you cannot.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, great. I think that is great. Okay, I think we have reached our time limit. People are asking for recorded sessions. Of course, you will get recorded sessions. We send you a link, okay, of the recorded sessions, and it's available on the ProThoughts website and also on our YouTube channel. Currently, it's kind of free, a lot of sessions, so you can use that. You can refer that. Thank you once again, Raghavendra, for an awesome session. Okay, and thanks all of you for your time, valuable time. I hope it was insightful for all of you. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Thank you. Bye. Yeah.